Gordon Geldenhuys from Acceleration Media, a very warm welcome to the Red Zone. You are suggesting in some ways that business in South Africa isn't taking social media seriously. Where's the gap?
Well, I think, Jeremy, thank you once again for inviting me. I think once again, social media has been part of the marketing mix for some years, and I think a lot of clients have not, or organizations have not really understood the value of social media, and they're not being able to prove the ROI in relation to their social media efforts. And as such, it's taken a bit of a backburn. I think going forward, there's developments within tools and tools that are coming to the market where social media is becoming more and more measurable, and we're starting to understand the attribution of social media amongst the broader marketing mix and its value within the broader kind of marketing mix.
We can talk about one of those tools in just a moment. Argyle, I think, is what you want to talk about. But is there increasing pressure within organizations now to demonstrate return on investment?
But that's exactly it. So I think organizations have understood more and more the role of social media within the marketing mix, and as such they've been investing in the space. So inevitably, launching a Facebook page and a Twitter profile requires resources, and it's not only on the creative side but also within the organization to manage all that conversation and outbound initiatives. So that investment has really been increasing within the organization, and there's greater pressure on marketing managers to realize or show the return on investment for all those investments they're making in those.
5 years ago it was a nice to have, now it's a necessity.
Exactly.
And in order to make that necessity a part of the bigger mix, you actually have to measure it. So let's talk a little bit then about linking social media to the bottom line and the kind of tools that are available in order to optimize that.
But that's exactly it. So I think in the past there's, you have more traditional analytical tools. So clients typically use tools like Google Analytics to understand movements from various sources to the website to understand the business goals and how the business goals are converting. Inevitably, the concern around that is the attribution of those conversions to the channel that initially kind of caused that conversion to take place. So I think a lot of organizations are using tools now that are starting to understand what this attribution modeling is potentially. So a good example would be someone might come across your product or join your Facebook page and engage with content on that kind of platform, and come back weeks later and maybe type in a Google search and it converts then on your website in terms of a registration or a purchase or a contact form. And in doing so, search then gets the attribution under traditional kind of marketing effort. So tools, we're starting to introduce tools now that are very able to link kind of the initial kind of marketing effort on social media to the actual conversion, depending on which sources it's
I understand what you're saying, but I mean 10 years ago this would have been called good database management.
It isn't that way, but I think in some contexts, you need the technology to be able to link the actual initial click to the actual conversion, and not necessarily all the other media houses in between, media sources in between.
Argyle, what is that?
So Argyle is a social media marketing tool. It's used to automate social publishing, automate social messages going out onto various platforms. It's a tool used to link and track conversions taking place from social to your website.
Give me an example of how that might work to the benefit of a brand manager sitting somewhere.
It might work in terms of proving return on investment. So organizations will use it to both manage their social, so inbound and outbound communication through the social, through the various platforms, as well as understanding the return on investment that they're getting through these platforms. So by understanding and applying what the various business goals are, like I said, that could be through registrations or that kind of thing. Businesses are starting to understand a little bit more around that social there is an opportunity for sales through social as well. So are they able to drive leads and actual purchases on their site through the use of social, and Argyle is a tool that's then used to prove that.
Two questions. How do you inculcate this kind of philosophy into an organization that is not familiar with it? One. Two, is this best done within the organization itself, or do you outsource this?
So these tools are really made for organizations at the enterprise level. So this is used at the organization to start understanding how do we scale social internally and how do we track it better. So these tools are cloud-based, and essentially, a client will have a login, set up their campaign, and monitor it that way. What we find is organizations typically struggle to justify the investment in tools within organizations, and often trials take place where they can actually make use of the tool, prove the ROI, and show it to the organization to get the kind of investment. So that's typically how it's best used to first of all show them how does it work, how can we prove ROI, and once that ROI discussion starts taking place with an organization, so the organization starts opening up to the idea of implementing tools organizational-wide.
And as that's happening, the next wave of technology is coming on. It's becoming increasingly difficult, isn't it, to keep up with this?
Exactly, but it's about investing in tools that then scale along with that kind of investment and with that growth. Obviously, there's more and more social channels, and there's more and more conversation. So you need to invest in tools that allow that scalability and allow that flexibility, so that when things change, you ultimately have the capability to take care of it all.
And in terms of South African organizations compared to those abroad, are we starting to get into this a little earlier, or have we left it too late?
So I think we're not actually that dissimilar. I think that we'll know from a marketing trend perspective that we typically follow what happens internationally, but I think the space moves relatively quickly in a way that organizations internationally are competing just as local organizations compete internationally. So I think that the organizations locally kind of follow on from international, but I don't think that they're very far off. I mean, the good examples are they facing the very same questions that they are internationally about return on investment, how do we better leverage tools, how do we scale it internally, and that kind of thing. So I think on par with international.
All right. All of this makes complete sense to me. But for any brand manager who's engaging with this conversation, where is the starting point in developing the strategy?
I think the starting point is to start defining your goals.
The goal is to make more money and make more profit and sell more things.
Exactly. But once we understand those goals, we can develop strategies around how to achieve those goals. The starting point is very much around understanding what it is you want to try to get out of social media. I think often that's social media is implemented at a stage, at a later stage, once organizations have already defined and define other aspects around their marketing mix, and social media is often left very second to that. So obviously social media needs to be brought into the earlier part of the sort of the strategy kind of cycle.
That ingratiation is absolutely critical. Gordon Geldenhuys, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed from Acceleration Media.
Cool, thank you.